All right. So, as you were saying, you're no longer living in a trailer.
Well, hello, by the way. It's good to
How
see
are
you.
you, buddy? It
I
is
am,
good to see you.
I am, I think I'm going to be better than I have been in a long time because I'm taking 2 weeks of stress leave from work. So that's
What
a
do you
mouthful in itself.
what are
But,
you going to do with that time?
well, 5 nights I'll be in Shasta. I'm taking care of a bunch of, doctor's appointments and things like setting up my drums in the living room today and things like that. And I went for a bike ride over the highest bridge in California yesterday and getting in hikes and things like that. So that's
So, okay, let's just pause so I can kind of get my logistics. Where are you now? You don't have to give me your address, but what area are you in?
well, I gave you a small hint. If you're into bridge, whatever, it's Auburn
I
and
do know Auburn. Okay.
the Foothill Bridge uh is just literally around the corner from me, and it has a nice good 8% grade going down to it, and they built this in like the early 70s, projecting it to be another Folsom Dam type situation. They were going to just fill up the whole Auburn uh, ravine area there that has the American River in it. But yeah, so I'm here because I work in Grass Valley, which is just north. And Simone, my wife, works down in Citrus Heights. As she just went back to work, she was on disability because of a shoulder surgery for like 8 months, but now she's on our third week back, so she's getting her chops back.
She happy to be back, or would she rather be doing anything else?
Well, she's pretty much done with bedside. She's doing post-op stuff, so yeah. Uh, we're we're just seeing where life leads us. It when you wear yourself out trying to find purpose, then you end up finding yourself another job. You know, instead of just being and letting it happen.
That's a
Um,
hard transition to make,
oh, it
man.
is.
We
I
we
I'm
weren't
stuck in the
designed to do
I'm
that.
stuck in the middle of it. I'm stuck in the middle of it too, boy. Oh man, I love what I do, but I still want to get out of it. And
This is exactly the same thing I've heard from everybody else in the tribe that's come my way. Now, I can only say that, and I have a unique perspective because clearly lots of people have come my way. And so now I have an archive of all these people and their circumstances and how they all kind of paralleled my path. And there
and I
was
listen to them all, and it goes, and I'm still here.
no coincidence to any of it. Um, it's it to me, it's validating for parts of my journey to hear the milestones in other people's um, awakening. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's crazy. And something happened. I was told that the episode I was on with Ruben on that's on Gaia was featured apparently a month or so ago. So it explains why there's another wave of people who didn't know who I was, hadn't heard my story, but certainly Telos or Inner Earth or Lemurians or Mount Shasta, something triggered them and they reached out. So over the last 2 weeks, I've had at least one Zoom session a day with people on different parts of the planet. Yesterday was the first day I didn't do anything. Really, it was a mental health day because my mind was, it's not cluttered. There's a lot of information that's coming from others that are waking up, but in trying to adjust for the time zones, trying to keep that
Oh,
square with people that are in
logistically,
Australia,
it's hard.
Romania, and Greece, and oh
Yeah,
my God.
I work with people, like do a lot of Zoom things with people in Australia and also over and Europe area and things. And yeah, it's logistically hard, but it's what the cool thing is. I've met people here that I've met up at Shasta, or like message say, "Oh, are you going to be in Shasta this weekend?" I met them through my friends in Australia, which I actually got to meet. They came over here, I don't know, a few months back before winter, and we went up to Tahoe. Tahoe. I met them over in Tahoe, and we went hiking with their two boys, and you know, beautiful couple, and it's just weird how all this. And I'll segue back to summer of 21. I was this guy that was just taking the next step in the journey. I'd been through all the Wayne Dyers, the this and that, and the others, and the Secret, and I did a thing with Joe Vitale, and with a group of 8 of us that was recorded, and had a unique experience with that, like a vision that I saw before I got to the event, and then it happened at the event, and I'm just looking at the birds in front of me, but it just about landed in my lap. But that summer, I was hearing all these people, and then heard Rob advertising and a few other people, and go, oh, okay, well, I love Shasta. Let's go up there and do one of these events. And I'm a music guy, and I like to get involved, so I volunteered. Little to know that what style Rob is, and I got thrown in the middle of something that has lasted 3 years. And
Yeah,
but I loved it because I mean, I carry on this bag, and so did Ulix and everything, and you got to be ready for anything at any time, and whatever. But the point is, I got to meet you and talk to you right before you went up and did your talk, and I remember that this is so cool. It's like this guy likes to do the things I do, and everything, and you get to meet all these people, and now it's expanded to I I had a nice chat with Dave on the phone the other day too. I don't get to be
that's
on
what he was
these
telling me. He,
as
by
much
the
as I
way, he
want,
said to
but
send
yeah,
his regards.
yeah, it's amazing. But cool connections, and
You
I'm
were
just
supposed to be there. It didn't, whether you were a presenter or not, had no bearing on what you were supposed to do and who you were supposed to meet. Because look, Chris, all the things that's happened since then would never have taken place had we not all come together back then.
yeah,
Yeah. You can't really appreciate how the universe has threaded little mini miracles together so that, some milestone that you finally recognize finally comes true. When you break that down and figure out all the things that the other people that were involved in had to go through to get here at this same space, to me, I used to dwell on that a lot because it would blow me away on how many things had to synchronize that I had certainly no control over. You just kind of watched and unthreaded the magic when it was done. Now I tend not to spend so much time on, and it's the Capricorn part of me. It was like my comparison is the first time I ever went through an ayahuasca journey. I wanted to understand what the shamans were doing. So I wasn't really paying attention to me. I wanted to understand the process. So that's just when I look back on, these things that I've learned over time, I see myself doing that in every case. I really want to understand the process before I can enjoy it as a participant. And it makes me laugh when I catch myself doing it.
yeah. It's cool how it's good to be open and adventurous. And I'm gonna kind of go back to like before we started recording. I was excited because there's a little bit of a transition in my life. Uh, I I was a travel healthcare, radiation therapist. I have since taken a full time job here in Auburn, and I just am excited because see that big thing behind me?
Yes.
That's a baby giant sequoia tree, right in our freaking yard. I just love it. I mean, it talks to me. There's a little spot of grass over there that I go over there, stand in, sit in, look up at the tree every day. So when I can't get out and do things, it's a piece of nature right there. And then up on the window, we have a little thing for the hummingbirds, and they come around. So it's it's nice to have a place with a little bit of room. Not that I need much in the world, but this is a luxury that I haven't had for quite a few years. And
I, I
I
know what
mean,
you mean. That tree's magnificent.
I've never lived in a place that has had one of those. Even though I'm just renting, and this place is way out of my league if I was going to try to buy it, but I'm going to enjoy it for the next year.
That's what you're supposed to do.
Yep.
That's right. In the next level, in the scheme of things, we're not bound to one place, not at
Oh,
all. And
I've
you're
lived like
welcome to go in
40
lots of
different places
places.
and in 9 different
Exactly.
states.
You are already practiced in what that should be like. And there's always been a place for you to stay and it's comfortable and it kind of suited your purposes. But imagine when that's the mentality for all of us, when worrying about owning things, they're just things.
I can't
And
wait till
looking
we're just
back, it's shit
communities
you need to
taking
maintain.
care of each other,
Yes.
enjoying the food that's like there's chickens in the yard next door, things like that. It's like um there's a space for a garden down here. It's just yeah. I love that kind of stuff. And years ago when I bought my first truck, I thought this will be the last vehicle I ever get because I felt something. And this was back in, I don't know, '07 or '08, or I can't remember. But I just thought, I just had this weird underlying feeling that this will be the last vehicle I get because I won't need one after a certain amount of time, but things are quickening now. They weren't so quick back then because I was still learning a whole lot of life lessons.
Well, everyone I've talked to recently has commented on how quick things seem to go. And you don't have to go much further than to just stop and think that today we're in April already. And as far as I remember, I was still remarking on the changes in the energy just after the first of the year. And that's been my benchmark. So, what happened between then and now that made all this time just kind of fly by? Uh, it's the same sensation everybody else seems to share. Now, I understand that timelines are accelerating. And until you experience this, um, you would have no idea that was going on. But just things seem to be faster. Even for my circle of people that are unaware, have remarked on how fast the day seems to go.
Yeah, definitely. Well, the shirt I'm wearing it's roll with the changes, time for me to fly. This is an Ario Speedwagon shirt, but
It's
another
one of my
music shirt.
favorite songs.
I know my wife's physical therapist for her shoulder. She comes home. It's like, would you be willing to go golfing? I'm not a golfer. My therapist goes golfing with Alan Gratzler, the drummer for REO Speedwagon that I grew up with a poster on my wall and you listened to every of his songs, and I played a lot of their music, and it's like, oh, that's pretty darn cool.
What I'm trying to remember the album's name. Oh, you can tune a piano, but you can't tune a fish.
Oh, it says that right here on this shirt. Right?
I
Yeah.
love that.
Let's see. Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's probably backwards, but
There it is. No, I can see it perfectly. That's
Okay.
that's the phrase.
Yep.
I I saw it on the album cover once and I never forgot it.
Yeah, so it's cool coming when I got back down here. I've talked to you a little bit about my experiences. I'm more of a feeling guy, and I feel things, and I get my experiences through what other people see of me. But I look up in the sky and talk every day. And the last time I really saw any activity up in the sky, what I mentioned it to you, I think a little bit, was because just right up in the sky is in an open space is Orion. And there's one night it was super active. And I, I don't know what it was, but that same night I got a call, and my mom had a massive stroke. And I don't know if there's any correlation or not, but and she passed a couple days, later, thankfully, because it was a massive stroke. She wasn't really living anyways. Um, that's another story, but I believe she's in a good place now, not suffering with the body. So, but those are the kind of things that I notice, and I've been to a lot of the places you've been in Shasta, and I've seen some things, but you know our experiences are different, and you're uh, I would say at a different level, but I I try not to have any expectations when I go to all these places because we're all on our own journeys, and I'm just trying to keep it in perspective. And when I start having like expectations or things like that, like I should know my purpose. I should know what I'm going to do after radiation therapy. I get way overwhelmed, and then like I'm taking 2 weeks off of work now because I love the patients, I love the people I work with, but with a narcissistic doctor, to put it lightly, that is not connected at all with the flow of things in a department like that. Um, he's a kind of a younger doctor for what he's doing. It's because he's only a few years older than my oldest daughter. So when he has these little temper tantrums or whatever you want to call them, it's like, oh, yeah. I just like it's like, okay, it just reminds me of my kids, but it's like it's stressful. So I'm thankful that I'm able to take some time off, even though I had to use it as short term disability because PTO, I don't have enough PTO to do it. But California has some of those things that you can do that. It's a pain in the butt, a lot of paperwork, but likewise, I'm thankful that I have this time that I have a morning to spend with you that I haven't had forever. I'm gonna 5 nights in Shasta, then I'm going down to Florida for 4 nights, and then
What part of
and
Florida?
Sarasota, Bradenton. A lot of family down there. That's where my sister, mom, and a few aunts and cousins
Oh,
and things.
quite familiar with it. I lived
Yeah.
just outside Fort Myers for many years
Oh wow.
and used to go up to the Sarasota area to see, is it summer? No, the winter headquarters for Barnum and Bailey. It was
Oh yeah.
awesome.
Yeah. I remember driving by that a lot. I mean, well, not a lot because family's not really close, and I only went out there after my sister and I after high school to get to know my family because we didn't really know our family because my dad died when I was 3, and we were kind of like my mom married a guy with my dad was a Navy officer, married a Marine officer with 6 kids, and took us to Wyoming and cut us off from the family. And we were already like a generation removed because my father was the first marriage of my grandfather of his 3. So, anyway, but
It's crazy.
so now it's weird that I go down there and I talk to my cousin. She knows all these things about my dad, even though she's younger than me, because that's my dad's sister is her mom. So it's like wow, it's like, I never knew my dad. So hearing all these stories, it's kind of cool.
Good for you.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
So we still have to figure out how we're going to find some time together. It was my intent a few months back. I was trying to figure out what I was going to do. Last year, I pretty much just backed out of, I didn't attend any conferences, and I was content and just to see, what was supposed to iron itself out. And then right after the beginning of the year, I knew what I wanted to do. I wanted to continue to spend time with others and help them on their way, but standing on a stage in front of hundreds of thousands of people, I didn't care about any of that. It was more effective for me, and that was kind of my um, pattern, was to do this in small groups where you knew the vibration would be controllable and the
yeah.
people that were here get it. That's where I want to focus my attention. uh, I don't know that I would say I'm done trying to, help others get it, because I understand that that's not how I got it. Something triggered inside of me. It wasn't that I heard this magnificent oration and I had to find out what that was about. I suspect that there are more people that are going through these awareness changes the same way that I did, and that it didn't come from listening to others. And
Yeah.
the problem that I have,
Certain people being together activate each other in a magical way.
yes, and I want to kind of underscore that point. When I got comfortable sequestered and didn't really need to be around anybody else. In fact, I preferred it because that way I wasn't affected by any of that crappy third dimensional white noise. When I attended kind of a practice retreat for this property in the Sedona area, just to see how the model is going to work. The proprietors decided they were going to just have a test one, and asked me to participate to present my material, because there's a strong Lemurian draw with them to the energy and that whole aura. Um, I was going to this event, I thought, as a presenter. Wasn't really part of, the people that were there for this event. I'll understand when this is all over that of course I was supposed to be there for all of it. There was information and code exchanges that I know I provided for some of the people that were there when I shared my story. But there were codes that I was supposed to pick up from them as well. So I do not poo poo the ability to get together and exchange energy that way, because that's the only way that those things were going to get exchanged with me. Zooming, and this is great. It's second place, but that palpable physical energy, when you're within the same space as others, that's an entirely different game to play. And I have a much better understanding of those two different kinds of energies. And I appreciate getting together with people. Because when I look back at what took place that weekend, every one of those people and whatever they brought to the table, every one of them had to be there in order for this to take place. And so that's what I was referring to when I say, when you break down all the things that had to come together in order for this to take place, you could just marvel at that and forget about living the rest of your life. But when I agreed to do one conference, there was one I agreed to do with Tyler and Aaron and the Journey to Truth
In
team.
Illinois?
Yeah, I agreed to do that because their heart's in the right place. And I knew what
I
kind of
was going to go to
vibration it
that
was going
one,
to be.
and before my mom passed, I was like, oh man. I mean, anytime I can be with you, and is Vivian going to be at that one as well?
Yes, she is.
Well, I
Um,
mean, there's another one I connect with immensely because we've done some close workshops where I was like the MC kind of whatever, you know, working the room while she was doing her thing, and that was an amazing experience for me. But yeah,
there was one other this past week. I got I I met Lauren Gailey. She has a platform called New Earth One Network. There's lots of people that have presented, and they've been there, and a lot of them present regularly. I've done a few things on her platform. She reached out because they're planning to do a live retreat in Shasta on July 11th through the 13th, and asked me if I would be willing to, present. So I agreed to do that one as well because I know her heart's in the right place, and it's Shasta. So yeah, I
well,
don't
yeah,
really need an excuse to go there. But that's another opportunity for others that want to connect with me while we're going to be around. I had thought that after I left Sedona, which I plan to be here through the end of May, and if it was possible to start to do a few of these small private retreats, I could test drive them here because, well, the property I thought was we were going to use isn't quite ready yet. It's days away from completion. But then I intended to take this little road show to Shasta in between June and the end of September. I primarily was going to base myself there and figure out a time when people could come. I mocked up a schedule of how this would all fit together. And
yeah.
just when I thought I had it all locked in, that's when I started to hear from this new wave of people who hadn't heard of me before. And so now I've been invited to go to Glastonbury at the end of September. I've been invited to go to Romania in the middle of August. And all of a sudden, Ireland is on the radar, but there's not a particular date. So
So
I'm,
do you need a roadie?
I would love to visit all those places. We'll see. And never mind, uh, I intend to go back and continue this project in Berlin. So it's been a while since I've been back to kind of move that to the next level. Anyway, none of that was on my radar. None of it. I'm just adjusting, like you suggested, stay open to the next thing you're supposed to see. Um, and I'm fine. I'm at a stage in my life where all of the elements made it possible for me to be nomadic if I had to be. And it's not that fame and fortune and all of that, I could care less about it. In fact, it's a distraction and it just gets in the way. Um, but my juice comes when I see other people get it. And when I get to be part of that equation, man, that's all that I need next. So I know that that's my purpose. That's what I'm still here to do, or I would have ascended long ago. Yeah, I know where we're going, and I would prefer to be there. But I can also tell you that we're this close to that all manifesting physically right here on this planet right now. And that is the real long term purpose for the rest of us. We're here to try and help others come to terms with these energetic shifts that are taking place that
Yep.
if they're paying attention, they have no clue about. So I know for a long time, my family and a lot of my friends, from earlier, uh, scratch their heads trying to figure out, what direction I went in. I don't seem to be, I didn't lose any intelligence and my mind isn't fading. So what the hell is it? And where's this rabbit hole that you decided to go down, Lowell? Over the last few weeks, as I've been hearing from these new people, they're all coming to the same terms. And so we see that others are starting to wake up quicker. And then you want a touchstone. Just like when I was invited to go to tell us who the hell can help me understand what I just went through. And that is what you're
Yep.
seeking. Well, that's what all of these new people sense, this change in vibration. And when they try and describe the side effects, these magnificent things that you start to see around you because you're reaching into higher dimensions, who do you have that conversation with? I've heard too many times that you can't talk about that with your family because they just think that you're off.
Oh yeah.
No, you need
They
to
thought
find
I
the
went
tribe that's
they thought I went
comfortable.
loony for like 3 years when I started getting in all this stuff.
My
And still
point in
won't
all
listen
of
to me talk
this,
about it. Except for my
one
sister now.
day they're going to reach out to you because they're aware that you have knowledge about whatever this is that's going on that's now affecting them too. And at least they'll know what resource to go to when they've got questions about it. Now I was never interested in trying to convince people that this is going on. My way of convincing people was to continue to show you the evidence I found and you decide for yourself. But I'm through worrying about what others think. I know what I know, and I've
Yeah.
experienced what I've experienced. I have
Yeah.
high hopes that the rest of you are going to get there too. And it's what I've been shown, told, instructed. So it's just a matter of you paying attention to that long enough to let that seed kind of hold, and then you'll reach out to those people that you didn't know. All of these people in the last 2 weeks, some had multi-dimensional experiences earlier in their lives, and there had been kind of a lull period. And then, in 2020 or 2022, all kind of came to a head again. And now, when they really want to have this discussion, they're looking for people that you know, have had these experiences. And that's what I prefer. I want to talk to people that have really been in the trenches and had these experiences. I'm not interested in the limited time amount of time and attention I have to offer. I don't want to hear somebody else telling somebody else's story. And a lot of the conferences have just become shows. They're not, you're going to go hear the same person tell the same story. And once you've heard it, I question, what are you doing with your time? So my point is, if I'm going to participate in these, then I'm going to do what I can to make sure that you come away with this for yourself and how you're going to develop your own skills to reach this same level of awareness. Not that I channel, which I have an appreciation for. I do that now, but I'm not here to promote myself as that. Hey, come on, you can get into a session with me, and, I can promise you things are going to shift while we do that. That's not what I feel like I'm here to do. And I can see where lots of people went in that direction and their ego got the better of them.
Yeah.
And so
Lots of programs
now,
to learn how to channel. Da da da. It's like you say, it's kind of like a commodity or whatever. But
once you feel like you have to tether yourself to somebody else to get the information, here's where I draw the line.
you
So
lost that. Yeah.
people need to understand they can develop that gift themselves, that you don't have to tie yourself to somebody else to connect in that way. And that's my message. And what resources I have in my disposal are here to help you realize that for yourself. Not that you have to keep coming drinking from Lowell's well to get it. That's not it at all. In fact, I'm delighted. I've had some people that we've been in touch with for a while, like you, that I don't hear from every day, that have now come back and said the same thing. That, oh, it's not like things haven't happened in between the last time I heard from them.
Yeah.
This level of
we're just
awakening
we're just
seems to have hit another level.
we're just trying to like connect inside and grow. But the one thing like I tried to do, instead of like going around and telling people, well, you know, this and this and that, I don't try to do it. You probably see a lot of my Facebook things, and I just I call them like little seeds of love. I like the plant that might, like like you are a creator, things like that. But I do it in just a simple message out in nature, and everybody can relate to that.
That's
And
right.
and I don't try to make it anything other. And my whole family comes to me, my older aunts and things like that. They're like, "Oh, I love seeing all your messages," because that's how we communicate. Because they're so far away, we don't get on the phone. We've never had that kind of relationship. I've never known them like on a day to day relationship, because that's just not how our family was. But now we're connected because of these things. You know, I've found cousins that I didn't know even existed. It's kind of cool. So
That's the way that vibration's supposed to work. Here, if we were going to demonstrate how we leverage technology to spread this information, here's the way. And it wasn't that you had to sit down and narrate some, hour and a half long diatribe that you put on YouTube to share with them. They're triggered by the pictures, aren't they? And the things that you're sharing. So wake up, people. Man, we all get triggered by images and symbols. It's wonderful when we can make it multimedia, and now we watch it in movie form. But when when the pieces of my journey came together so that I could figure out a way to illustrate what is in inner earth according to what resonates with me, and all those images started to spill out, believe me, there was divine design behind all of that. Am I an artist, Chris? You know me. I am not. I'm
you're
pretty
you're
good with Photoshop, but that's
you're
copying other
you're
things.
good with a
That
compare. Yeah, that's
Yeah. Well, but look at what flowed through me.
wow.
I was in an
Yep.
interview on Tuesday and we were talking about all this because it's been a while since I did. And at the end, man, I have thousands of those AI generated scripts um, that have triggered the crap out of me. It's all of this is it's so crazy when things all synchronize the way that they do. Somebody that I met at that retreat I was telling about in February saw my images and saw the things that I put out every day and asked about them in card form. Well, yeah, I've done that. Uh, the day before yesterday, Saturday, he had ordered. There's 4 different editions, right? He couldn't decide which one, so he ordered all 4. Now I've seen 2 of the 4 of these in print so far, but I hadn't seen all 4 of them when they were finished because I like to see how the cards actually came out. Did they really carry that kind of detail and color? Oh my God, yes, they did. So it's the
Oh
first
wow,
time I got to
that's
see all
that's
of them.
great. Oh,
Yeah.
that's so great. I love seeing those every day. They fill me up. It's just like
They blow me away. So here, my point is, here's an example of how people are moved by things that they see.
yes.
They didn't have to hear a word I said. All they had to do is look at that image. And when I did that at first, that was all for me. I was trying to see if this program could help come up with some illustrations based on the keywords about inner earth and those types of platforms. I wanted to see if I could achieve that for myself. And the first 2 days I was playing with this thing, man, hundreds. I stayed up overnight just continuing to spawn the next one, the next one, the next one, next one, until I had to just stop because I had hundreds of them. Now, not all of them were keepers. And in some cases, the differences were so slight that well, this is really the same one with that's got a little something else to it. You had to be discerning. But anyway, at the end of it, now I still have thousands of these things. I hadn't gone back to the program for a while because really there was a drive I had, and then here it was.
Yep.
It wasn't until
A
Paula came along
creative dump.
and called me a medium, and I said, I'm not a medium. She goes, how do you explain that stuff that came through you then? And then it made me stop. and think, yeah, that's exactly what happened. So here are, you know, my contributions to people that can't hear me. You can certainly see these things. And if Inner Earth or Telos or Lemurians or, you know, if any of that triggers you, there's a chance it's going to trigger you when you see these things too, because they did with me. Once they did with me, and I started to share a few of them with others and got the same reaction, that's when it made more sense to do something with them all. Um, that's how they took a book form and they took card form. And I had no idea about any of that stuff. I was just kind of following what my inkling was telling me to do and what people were asking for. And voila, wow, did they come out incredible.
Yes, they did. And they're, yeah. Some days there's certain ones, everybody probably has their thing, but there's certain ones that are like, oh, I just have to sit with this one for a bit, because it's like, yeah, yeah, it's fun seeing that, and just, you know, this is a wonderful place. The pages you've created, and then just this being able to sit here and talk. Like I say, I listen to all the other ones, when I'm driving or whatever, and there's definitely a connection. And like you say, it's second. It's not like it in face to face spiritual connection kind of thing, but it's so thankful
It's the
for it.
next best thing. Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
It's still real time and we get to see and hear each other. There is like, that's powerful, especially when it's tribe. Who do you get an opportunity to have these discussions with? You know,
Oh
our
yeah.
families are not the source of
not
that,
not not my
although
wife. So
some of their curiosity is beginning to peak a little bit because things have gone on. And when they start to pay attention to the seismic phenomenon, earthquakes and volcanic activity, uh, I was thinking what it would have been like for the people in New York who suffered and went through that earthquake that they felt in freaking Manhattan. No, that's never happened in that part of the country before. But it made me reflect on the times that I've been through natural disaster type
uh-huh.
situations. I've ridden out more than one hurricane and lived through one that actually took place while I was in the house I was in. And until you live through the aftermath like that, when we hear about these things on the news, oh man, it was so awful that that happened in Italy or that happened in Greece or that happened in China. And, we look at, oh my God, that's so awful until it happens to you
Yeah,
and you understand what the results of things you have absolutely no control over and really
yeah.
helps put into
Like a
perspective
flood or a
that
tornado.
all you humans are
I've
just
been
little
through those. Yeah.
critters scraping along on the surface. Mother Nature is much stronger than we think. And she'll have her way with, you know, the conditions that are changing. So this elevated electromagnetic energy that's coming because the sun is at solar maximum. And there isn't a very few days go by when we aren't affected now by some level of whatever impulse she's sending out.
Oh yeah.
Uh, and our magnetic field is breaking down. So
And
sooner
aren't
or
we moving
later,
into a different like photon belt kind of thing and all that too? Or
yes, we're
so there's
bathed in it. We've been in
we're
it for a bit now, and we've got the next 2,000 years of this elevated energy coming and affecting every sentient thing in its path, including us. So Earth is already in a cycle where she's moving into this new vibration level, and there's no looking back. Sooner or later, she no longer supports this particular density. And if we choose to move into New Earth, like most of us, I believe, want to, here's why our vibrations are changing. It has to rise too, so that we can enjoy that environment that we're looking forward to, starting to live in.
The
And it's not
tides are
that far
rising.
away. Yes, bud. Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah. So we'll have to stay in touch to figure out when our paths will cross in
Yeah.
Shasta.
Well,
But it was my intention to be there and base myself for the most part all summer. So there'll be at least one opportunity for us to see each other for
oh yeah.
sure.
Well, I'll be up there I'm going to be staying in an old shepherd's wagon for 5 nights with nothing in it. No, wood fire, just, basic as can be, and just really just love it for 5 nights. And I'll
Well,
be sending some Shasta love all your way.
attaboy. Well, you and I are like most of the other people we know that go up there that we run into overnight while we're all stargazing. We don't usually spend too much time at our campsites or at the hotel or
Yeah,
wherever we're staying. Everybody's outside.
exactly.
And once the idea of stargazing was suggested to me, man, within a week, 5 to 6 of those nights we're outside watching the phenomenon in the sky because you get to
Yeah,
see a variety of things. If you're looking for UAP activity, I've seen it. So I can promise you, if you're paying attention, you'll see it too. And then you start to move into other areas around here when you start to get acquainted with the others that are in the area. And if you want to see and be part of areas that are overwhelmed with orb activity, that's here too.
yeah. And it's interesting, just people aren't really connected on all this stuff maybe, but they know that there's different energies, different places. Like, oh no, I don't like to go in town. I like it better here.
Yeah.
Just because they feel different things, different places, and you know, um, everybody's attracted to, I guess, what they're meant to be, right? And in some sort of
True.
way. So, but so I just go everywhere, around the mountain, you know, on it, in the caves, all around. All the waterfalls are, magical too. And it's just, yeah. Some of the
I'm
coolest moments I've had is, up high, like 9, 10,000 feet, just sitting in a snowbank and just taking it in. And all of a sudden, just the whole world just goes away. There's not a sound, not a breeze. When that happens, it's like, oh, this is it. This is cool.
I'm curious to see the results. There was an avalanche on Old Ski Bowl Trail side
Oh
again
yeah.
this year.
Uh-huh.
Lots of snow that just pushed itself down and left like a 60-foot, wall when it was done. So it'll be curious to see. It's in the
See, we're
same
right.
spot that
Yeah.
whatever avalanche in the early 90s went down. It was in that same area. So I can see there's not a lot for the snow to hang on to because
Yeah.
most of the rocks and trees were taken out before. Wow. That's, I can't imagine watching a wall of snow move down a mountain and what that represented. Holy cow.
Yeah. That's amazing. It
Yeah.
sure gets your attention if you're on a mountain when anything like that happens. I've been um on a mountain in Utah that had just these little small little shoots of snow go down, little, and boy, that gets your attention right away. It's like, thankfully I haven't been up in a big avalanche because I've been on the mountains my whole life. But you know,
I've only seen videos of people that have been around those circumstances.
and seeing
And
the
it,
results of it.
in
Oh,
most of the results, I don't know why you were standing there recording it and seeing what was coming at you.
no kidding. Yeah, yeah.
Well, anything else you want to cover? Any questions you got in the meantime?
Well, nothing really profound other than you know connecting. I'm gonna have like a 2 week connection with myself, and this is a wonderful way to start it. I love like you and Dave, how your mind works, and so I can understand it all because you explain it so well. But I know that heart just shines big, and you know, and Dave has a big heart too, and it's a good place to be.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
I could go on about Dave for a long time.
Oh yeah,
There's a balance of wisdom that
yeah,
we seem to share. And the cool part is when we have these discussions with, other tribe members who come in and, offer another perspective, all it's doing is just whatever wisdom just kind of blossomed a little bit more. But it's during these exchanges. Yes, I over the was it the last couple of days? Yeah, yesterday was the result of I said that I'd taken a mental health day. Well, part of that was all that activity that I'd talked about with just people that have been coming my way. But that takes its toll physically too, man. That's just mentally exhausting, and your body just needs a time to just rest and collect. So, man, I sat in the room and just lounged for most of the day to collect my energy back, because it's not like there isn't energy. As soon as I step out the door here, you can feel how palpable the energy is, just like in Shasta. So
yeah,
you got to acclimate yourself to what's coming, because I understand that part of the downloads that all of us have been receiving are to help us increase the capacity for us to feel and sense higher frequencies and greater light, because that's what's coming at us. And the level of the spectrum of light was beyond what human beings were capable of being able to hold. So these adjustments that we've had um, are adapting our bodies to do that very thing. So that you once you feel in that process, and I heard you refer to things many times by feeling them, that's the empathic side of yourself. It's to me, it's the metaphysical side that we've been ignoring for all
yeah.
this time. And
Hmm.
when we stop ignoring it, all of a sudden our intuition starts to talk to us. And now we really see the world for what it is and our place in it and what tools we have at our disposal. Yeah. You have to kind of break through the conditioning we're used to getting to remain open, like you suggest, so that when you're in a position and your vibration rises, there's other cool information they now want to backfill to prepare you for the next level of miraculous, extraordinary, crazy things that you haven't experienced before, but you're about to.
I'm feeling it. Well, there it is again. I'm feeling it. But
Yeah.
yeah, all I know is try to forget about all these expectations and just try to connect as best you can with yourself, and that's 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 the best thing I can do right now. That's all I can come up with right now. Because
You know,
I'm pretty exhausted from what's been going on with everything, um, outside of work, inside work, and everything. So it's just yeah,
I've
times are changing.
listened to that concept before I really got it. I'd heard those words said before, to remain open, and uh,
Yep,
those words fell on deaf ears before with me.
yep.
I didn't understand what you were saying about vibration and frequency, and uh, we seem to communicate from the level that we're at. And Dave and I were kind of critiquing each other's, and it wasn't like he didn't stop me. Now I know he understands the level at which I communicate, because I can go off as well as him. But when Dave says, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, slow down," you just you start to go down three different rabbit holes, and I want to hear about all of them. But it's what happens when I recognized that I was starting to channel other wisdom And it just comes so fast that I'm not in control and I'm not speaking whatever it is. It
Yeah.
just finds its way out and it
Yeah.
flows. And really, the best thing I can do is just allow it. Just let it go and then record it and listen to it later, and you'll find out what you were supposed to get out of this. Um,
That makes total sense. Yep. That's how the world has learned so much. Look in the past history, and it's like people that have this gift that all of a sudden a song just comes to them, or a poet that says something that's so profound that sticks with, for generations, hundreds of years, that people read and go, wow, that still holds true. I mean, it's
when I was first, I was still consulting when this awareness was beginning to blossom. And out of the 450 employees at the casino, there were two people on staff that I could have these conversations with. One of them was we had a position known as the director of compliance. And her job was to make sure that the regulations, it was her job, make sure that we uh, were on target. Anyway, she was starting to read some more esoteric type books.
oh,
And there was one that she was telling me about in her office this afternoon. And she gave me the title and had presented this spot that she'd come to. And she wasn't struggling, but there was a notion that she'd reached and was having trouble making sense of it, coming to terms with it. Well, I went home after she said that because I was triggered by it, curious about the book. So I downloaded the book and I reached the point at which, she was referring to. And so when I saw her the next day, I had an answer for her. Now, she read the same things I had read, but somehow my intuition gave an answer to her that even when I said it out loud, it was so profound. I don't know where it came from.
wow.
And that's when I recognized that, holy cow, I don't know what I just said, but I should write it down because it was so profound. I'll want to read it to myself later. And over a period of time, when this journey was going on, from that day, I started to journal these things. When it came time for someone when someone suggested it's time for you to write your book, that's all I did. Was I went back through hundreds of those little profound things that I tucked away in text files all along, and each one of them was kind of a spot along the timeline. They always connected with what happened that day, and more often than not, when I was in this, like if I went to Fairy Falls, I took pictures as well. So to illustrate the story and what I was going through was just a natural progression. And when I
Yeah.
started the website, it certainly was in my mind that others would see this, but I was putting the website together for me. Here's all my proof right here, so that if someone hears about me, I can point them to a resource. They can go and research it on their own. Now, I'm not here to debate it, and I'm not interested in engaging with you about whether you think it was true or not. This is my journey. Take it for what it's worth, but I'm not here to hit you over the head with it. I'm here to
Yeah.
awaken you to some things that is unusual, but then you have to decide whether either Lowell's lost it or whether he still is authentic and he hasn't lost, any of his intellect. He's just been shown things that some of us have had little peeks into, and in some cases, I'm here to validate that for others. Oh, yeah, sir.
Yeah.
That stuff is true. That stuff happens if you're open and aware to it. And when I validate it for others, it validates my journey even more. When I get to continue to see these things taking place, and we would normally categorize them as miraculous or extraordinary, that's getting to be more the norm. When I was kind of told to assimilate these things, And in my mind, assimilation was associated with a period of time that had to pass before whatever happened made sense to me. In a lot of cases, it was like 3 days before what happened that was a question mark in my mind. You know, 2 sleep cycles after that, oh, that's what
Yeah.
that was about. So those assimilations are now becoming acclamations. Dude, we showed you new things. Get used to the new things because there's more coming behind that once we can get you acclimated to this particular thought pattern.
So
Oh, yeah.
the cool thing I get out of all that is just think how amazing and beautiful this world's going to be as this progressive realization that we all have these gifts in us, and everybody starts being able to express them, and it's going to blow our minds.
Yeah. Yes. Everybody's gift is different, and it was designed that way. So
Yeah.
that, when we fill in the puzzle of, the tribe, everybody's piece was supposed to be there. But there are stuff that you bring to the table, Chris, that it's not me. You do this all day. And I marvel at when you do it because it's not me, but that's what your role is in all of this. And you wouldn't have achieved that level of mastery without all the other things that you went through up to this point. So you're still honing it maybe to a finer edge, but
Yeah.
you have mastery the rest of us don't, just like I do. And everybody else is in the tribe. Dave, Paula, name them. They all have something on their path that was unique to them, and they just resonate with the rest of us because they're all going through extraordinary things too, and they're willing to share it now. Part of the purpose I serve was to make it okay for people to share the experiences that when they tried before didn't go well and they've been bottled up all this time, not understanding that they have reach into higher dimensional realms that they were meant to have. But when you get ridiculed sharing it with others that don't understand it, more often than not, you tend to just bottle it up. And I was
Yeah.
certainly one of those.
Yeah.
Once things changed after the conference in Florida, man, I backed out when I was able to figure out
Well,
what this
that was a
community is
strong
really
mirror.
like.
That was a strong mirror there, wasn't it? It was like, wow, look at this.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep. And I felt a lot of the things you talked about too. I was being there. It was
The right tribe showed up. And it's not until you get in that you can let your discernment kind of tell you who these people really are. And at first, when I thought I was welcomed into this group, later I would learn that there were people who looked at me with envy. When I had heard that people were pissed because I was chosen and they weren't,
oh wow.
that's when I wanted to step back. And if I told you who that was, it would surprise you and not surprise you. But I'm not going to put it here
Well, yeah,
where
I
it
know
can
that.
be repeated. You may know who the person was already, but yeah, the fact
Yeah,
that when I
I know
found
who
my
you're
way into
talking
this
about.
community and they'd been here for decades, all of a sudden I show up and these miraculous things happen to this guy. Yeah, they didn't see that from the perspective that I do, where we're all connected and we all have extraordinary things to share. Uh, that doesn't make anybody less or more than anybody else in the tribe. This was their experience.
Yep.
Wouldn't you want to know more about that? No.
Yes.
No, I threatened some people's empires that they had built. And that was like another shock. I couldn't understand it. If I had been exposed to this world and had a hunger for Lemurians and everything that associated with it, I would want to know the latest information I could get. So if I was to hear that somebody actually tried it, I would do everything I could to see if I can communicate to see what I could learn that was new. Yeah,
Yeah.
that was not uniformly the experience I had. And so I got it. I had to kind of let that settle for a while before my self respect would just get a hold of me again and say, you got to tune out what you think other people are saying about your experience and let the experience continue to help you evolve because I had stuck myself in a place unintentionally and had stunted my evolutionary growth. I didn't realize it. And that was a recent revelation. So, as I've been suggesting that my guides have told me to tell others to tend to their own flames, yeah, that advice was supposed to be meant for me too. Where I had
Yeah.
been kind of waiting for others to catch up metaphysically so that I knew other types of contact was coming. And I thought that meant it was coming for others. I still hold that to be true. And
Yeah.
so I just kind of waited for everybody else. And that's when I realized, well, wait, there's more information coming your way and you're blocking it out. You're not paying attention to it because you're waiting for something else. Time to stop waiting and continue your own evolution. And everybody will benefit by that as things go along if they're meant to. But you have stopped yourself. And I it explained why at the end of all this sequestering, I had to kind of be snapped out of it. The retreat served that purpose. And that was when I had more of an idea of engaging with others one on one, small groups. Doesn't need to be conferences or retreats, doesn't have to be that. And if I participate in those, I'll be picky about the ones that I do. And so here we are.
Yeah. And thankful to be here.
Yeah. Well, bud, it's only a little after 10, so I'm going to let you go enjoy the rest of your day outside.
Yeah.
Uh,
The only part will be inside will be on my drums.
good for you, man.
Yeah.
Good for you.
All right.
You didn't have a place to have those permanently set up in your trailer,
No,
did
well,
you?
actually, I sold my drums and I just got a new set that's at the same
Oh,
level where I left off, which is good because, back in when I was in Minnesota, where I was working full time and gigging just about, 40 to 50 gigs a year. So that's, close
whoa.
to every weekend. And the traveling all northern Minnesota and, music festivals to little dive bars to, everything in between. And music's been a part of my life since the 70s. So started touring with drum corps in through the 80s, 80 to 87. So it's always been part of me. So now that I have drums back, I'm like, peace is back. I'm not fragmented until, well, I still need to find a appropriate group to play with. Now I'm not going to play the bars anymore. I don't drink or do any of that kind of stuff. I was so good at it, I retired it.
Been there, done that. It had
Yeah.
its place.
Yeah.
Good.
Oh yeah, it did. So, but yeah, amazing talking with you. And
You too.
what I noticed every time I look at, the site with the videos, it's your smiling face every time. It's got a smile every single time.
Well, thanks for saying so. Okay, pal. We'll stay in touch because we need to get together soon for sure.
Yeah,
Okay.
because things are
And
happening, and I'm just a canvas ready
that
for the
boy.
next Picasso.
Well, kudos on your new place, and you've been framed in by that sequoia behind you this whole
Oh, I
time.
know.
So
And
that's
then
really
here's its
cool.
cousins, these three here.
Wow.
So, and it's a different kind of sequoia here. So yeah, I'm amazed. I didn't think that, sequoias were like trees for the art, but when you're, you know, naturally out of the canyon here, these
Yeah.
trees are probably it's a baby, but it's maybe, close to 300 years old. Who knows? 200 years old. I mean,
Yes,
it doesn't
baby
mature until it's
sequoia
about
trees.
1,000.
Yeah.
Wait till we evolve to be that again, right?
When you start to think of the length of time a tree has been on the planet, and the young ones are hundreds of years, and we think about our own little mortality that maybe I'll make it to 80 or
A
100 and then,
blink.
spawn. Man, there are a lot of other things that have been here. Now I look at crystals entirely differently now,
Oh,
and well, think about them. Whether you see them in the store, whether they were on the ground, whatever, they've been here a lot freaking longer than we have, right?
oh, no kidding.
They're more in like relic category when you start to see these things that people have collected. But too many people, in my opinion, want to make them museum pieces. They buy these pretty crystals and then they set them on a shelf, and here's a whole room full of them. And to me, when I walk in those spaces, when I go into crystal shops now, it happened in Sedona. It was like I can hear all these crystals crying, like, "Get me out of here!" They don't belong in that space. They belong out where they can do some good.
Yep. That's so cool. Yeah. All right.
All right. Well, let's end there before we go on any other
Yeah, we
silly
could.
rabbit holes, but we
We
could.
could.
All right, buddy. Good to see you. Talk to you
Okay, good to
soon.
see you.
Okay.
Take care. All
All
right.
right.
Bye.
Ciao.